All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our May meeting. Sean, can you do a quick roll call for us? I know we don't have a quorum yet.
Yes, ma'am. Representing Kanawha County Commission, we have Todd Goldman, Valerie Gaynor, Jay Snodgrass, and Michael Farmer here in person. Representing the City of Charleston, we have Tom Tolliver, Heidi Adams joining us electronically, and Bobby Spry here in person. Representing Montgomery, we have Maurice Anderson joining us online, and representing South Charleston, we have Gene Arthur here in person, which means we have 4 of our 5 partners necessary in order to have a quorum. So we're trying to get Mayor Case-Bolt and or Bob on the phone.
So we'll just go ahead and move ahead. We can't vote on anything unless we get a quorum. But did everybody have an opportunity to review the minutes? We're not going to vote on them. But any comments to the minutes? Okay. If not, and if we get a quorum, we'll come back to that later on. Jessica, you want to go over financial statements?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. On Schedule 2, I wanted to point out that our investment account recovered from last month's $116,000 dip, plus another $29, so that's a bit of a relief. Our savings account is continuing to rebound in earnings with the grant money still sitting there earning interest. On the operating grant, we drew down another $368,000 for May, and that leaves me $270,000 to draw in June before we have to start kicking out $1 million a month to cover operating costs again. So that reprieve has been appreciated, but it was only temporary. Operating expenses exceeded revenues by $925,000, which is actually pretty good for us. Second month in a row, federal and county funding helped us net a positive $81,000, which is good, but for the year to date, we're still at a deficit of $1 million. Our operating expenses are solidly within our monthly average of $1.4 million, and we are under budget for expenses year to date by $60,000. Schedule 4, that's our Kanawha County levy receipts. We got $107,000 in April. That puts our year to date receipts at $8.7 million, and we are hovering still at 3% lower than last year. So our expenses are staying good under budget, but our operating revenues are falling short, unfortunately.
I know, Jessica, when Budget Committee met, you talked a little bit about the investment account performance, and I think you said our rate of return on that for over the past year is around 22%. Is that right?
22%.
Yeah, so that's good news.
We're lending that good there.
Any other questions for Jessica?
Of that 22%, how much we haven't dipped into?
We haven't had to touch that. That's sitting there just growing. We're using our reserve savings account as of now, which is a much lower yield.
Okay. Moving on the agenda, item number 5, any invoices in excess of $5,000?
There are no invoices in excess of $5,000.
Okay. All right, Kurt, insurance report.
Good morning, everyone. The insurance report is quiet this month, so that's good. We had one closed claim from a heartbreak back in March. That's all I have, actually.
Okay.
What'd that cost us on that one?
It didn't cost us anything because it was one of these ones where the passenger did not go to the hospital to seek medical attention. It's just wanted us to write a check, and our insurance company denied their claim. Yep.
Okay. I don't see Jacob, so who?
He stepped out to try to reach out to Bob real quick. I'll step in for him though. So for the month of April, for the operations report, we saw an increase in ridership of about 5%, which is we're really happy with, and that's up about 5,000 rides on fixed route. So again, when we look at some of those changes from, I'll actually get Mayor Case-Bolt on the phone. Hello, Mr.
Perfect.
Mayor. Right with you.
I got it. Sorry about this. All right. So as Sean stated, there was a 5,000 increase in fixed route service for the month of April. SOAR rides continue to, they went down. Well, wait a minute, where are we? Sorry. SOAR rides are continuing to increase as we have worked on the time and added more KRT Plus drivers to get that back up and going. We went from 40,000 to about 90,000 a month now, so that's good. Jessica's happy about that.
I have a question about,
Sure.
restoring KRT Plus. So, the Schoenbaum Center, the executive director there, they have some of their child care workers that actually use our services to get from point A to point B from work to
Mhm.
home. And, but he told me one of them won't cross a river or something like that, and so the cars are dropping them off and then they're catching a bus and going to work. Does that sound familiar?
It may be one of the instances with the zones, the way they're set up, you can't travel from one zone to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a KRT Plus trip exclusively, there is a challenge there of the zones. Sometimes the system will need you to get off the bus and then get on the fixed line or
Yeah,
cross over to that.
I think
That's the
one.
frustration. If they're individuals who could qualify for the paratransit trips, then there's no boundaries there as far as the zones. But it is a real challenge, especially entities that are right there on the borders.
Mhm.
It's frustrating because you're like, I can see the other zone, but I can't get there.
Right.
That's a correction in the system, so that because how big our system is, and when they did the feasibility of going from one zone to another, it just didn't work.
Okay.
But
On the
it's-
grand scheme of things.
Yes, but we can look at that instance individually.
Like if I connected you with the executive
Yes,
director,
yeah, we'll be,
you
Jacob
guys
and I will
could
be
have
happy.
a
Yes.
conversation with him?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank
Yes.
you.
I did want to note for the group too, I've got Mayor Casebolt on the phone, so we now do have a quorum. So thank you so much for joining us, Mayor Casebolt.
No problem.
Perfect. Perfect.
Jacob, we're on operations support too, if you
Okay.
wanna slide right on in.
There wasn't much change from previous months. Our net demand rate, 78% this past month. Total 1,935 rides. No-shows there's a slight increase there. We expanded our store service these past couple of months, and we do experience more no-shows with that service. And the cancellations, a little over 2,400. That's all for operations report 2.
Thank you, Jacob.
I'm curious, any thoughts why we see a big increase on the fixed routes, which I assume is due to fuel, but we don't see any increase at all on the KRT Plus service?
I would assume that the people who are riding the KRT Plus service were already riding the KRT Plus service for their trips, and so maybe some of the 5,000 for the bus route, the fixed route riders are people who had not been using the service at all then.
Just totally new ridership?
Either new ridership or people who had found other means, but then came back to KRT just because of the fuel so high. That's my only assumption.
Where they're traveling to, where KRT Plus, we're gonna travel within the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can fix route to go across.
Okay.
And I mean, ridership is still pretty far down. I don't, let's see if I still have the sheet. Yeah. So back 2019, we're looking at about 1.588 million rides. 21, which, you know, height of COVID, about 966,000 rides. And last year, 25, like 1,028,000 rides. So there's like a 500,000-ish rides that we're down from 19 to 25. And, you know, those folks are probably folks that just found, you know, other ways to make it work during COVID and haven't returned to the bus, but. All right, thank you. Since we do have a quorum now, let's go back up to item 3 on the agenda, which were the minutes for the April meeting. I know we already asked for comment, but since we have new folks on the phone, any more comments about those minutes? And if not, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Jay. Mr. Tolliver, I'll consider that a second. Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Aye.
thank you all. So we've got the minutes from April approved. And that brings us back down to maintenance facility update, item C under number 6.
Go ahead, Chuck.
So we met with a window company, 2 weeks ago, and just to discuss where we're at. They did the 30% of the design of the building. And, we met with 2 of the project managers and a couple engineers, kind of go over next steps and where we're at. We did discuss financial challenges we're seeing and some creative ways that we could potentially modify that original design, to better fit our budget but still keep us efficient. And it was just a really good conversation with all their team. Then we are working on a CMAR solicitation to help us from the 30% to get to 100% to make sure that budget and project stays on track for what we actually need. Any questions or comments about the window meet?
Yeah, what are the needs of the windows? Are they busted or just efficiency?
Oh, no, this is the maintenance facility as a whole, the new
Okay,
build.
the new.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the
Okay.
topics that we went over were do we need as many service bays as we did originally, and things like that. Trying to
Okay.
scale the project down if possible, and scaling the parking lot over here to better fit our budget.
Okay.
We're just trying to get creative with the money we have. Any other questions about that?
Did you get sorted out on a CMAR document?
Yes.
Sorry to take it back.
No, you're fine. Yeah,
Seems like
I wanted to
40
involve you
page
because you brought it up.
documents.
Yeah. No, I sent it by you because you brought it up. But
Okay.
yes, yeah, we're on the right track there. And again, that process will enable us to make sure that we can stay on that budget. And that's what's so important when you're stretching every dollar. Is you don't want to have a $30 million project that ends up being a $45 million one and wondering how you're going to pay for it.
And the reason for that document being so large is a lot of the provisions of the federal government you have to have in your contracts, just as a kind of a boilerplate, but what they have to, the contractor would have to uphold to. So that's just their requirements for their clauses.
Yeah, and I don't question that, because that document sets the tone for the whole project.
Yeah.
And it's gonna live throughout this entire event.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So, then, we'll move on to the fuel. It's kind of been a topic for a couple months now. I just kind of want to show you where we're at with our fuel program performance. This is from January 1st, 2026 to May 28th, 2026. KRT has saved in gasoline $59,114.04. Diesel we have saved $215,230.63 for $274,344.67. And just some other agencies there. The biggest highlight though is just overall the program has saved Kanawha County $908,308.67.
Yeah, and again, I can't express how thankful I am that the board, when we look at those contracts and we make that debate of, hey, do we want to ride the market and maybe we'll get a better price, or do we want to do this kind of safe thing and lock in a price for 2 years? Well, thank goodness, again, it happened during COVID and it's happening now with these fuel prices. This is really coming to save us, because I don't envy the agencies that ride the market and have to pay those, when we're paying $2.55 for diesel and the market was what, $5, $6 maybe?
Yeah, it's been
I mean,
about 50.
This is real savings, and we're gonna share these numbers with the county just to reiterate, how important it is that the agencies use this program and appreciate it. So, but thank you, Travis, for putting that together. It's a big deal.
And that fuel contract is for 2 years, but, this past time when we accepted bids, there weren't a lot of folks that even provided a fixed cost option. So that might go away. Yeah, that might go away the next time we have a put that out to bid, but.
Yeah, maybe we try for a longer contract or something.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Travis. Okay, director's report.
Sure. So I've got a couple of topics I just want to update everyone on. The most important one since the last time we've met, the safety levy thankfully passed with 75% approval. I really want to thank the Charleston Area Alliance, the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, the Ambulance Authority, all the VFDs and fire departments that helped. I want to thank the different city councils, the mayors, Mayor Casebolt, I went there and went to South Charleston, the city of Charleston for being so supportive, and for stepping up and making sure that they let their citizens know how important that this funding was to us. And what that does is that sets us up really from fiscal year 30 through 33. So it's not for a couple years until this happens, but it's nice to know that collectively for the next 7 years we have funding from the county, and that's, again, that was the most important thing that we look forward to and work on every 5 years. So I'm extremely thankful for that. Again, the percentages did change in that safety levy, so come 2029 we will start recouping 39% of the levy instead of the 43.5. Ambulance Authority goes up to 46, and then the county has 15 instead of the 12 they were receiving. So that's something also to take into account when we get to the budget process. It's just here in 2 years that our funding is going to change dramatically. The next thing, April 28th and 29th, we had the team of reviewers from the federal government, from FDA here, to do our triennial review. That's an intensive, multiple day process where we sit down and go through, I think it was 191 pages of questions. It's a lot, and I'm really proud of the entire admin team for going through that process. We did have, come July 14th is when the final kind of report comes to us and comes to the board explaining any findings. There were some things associated with our procurement manual, but the nice thing about that was we had noticed them ourselves, and if you recall, the board several months ago updated our procurement manual, which solved the majority of those problems. And it was clauses, it was little things like that in the language of the contracts, nothing material that would impact the awards, etc. So extremely thankful for our team for putting in the time and effort. It was a lot, but extremely necessary. I want to thank Angie Talbot, who is our benefits coordinator. We just finished open enrollment for all our different insurances, and she met one-on-one with our CBA employees and our admin employees to make sure that our coverages were correct and kind of explain any changes. The entire admin staff switched over from Plan A to Plan C, or what we used to call it. Now it's called the Gold and the Gold High Deductible. It's going to save us about $70,000 this coming year, so really thankful for that, and for our admin team for understanding that that change is necessary to help us save some money in the long term. The other thing with PIA is we were notified by PIA that come July 1st, they are going to start directly managing our retirees' health insurance plans. So currently, retirees come in and pay to us. They'll come up and drop off a check, etc. Come July 1st, they're going to be working exclusively with PIA. That's a system-wide thing PIA has decided. It'll help us administratively because it'll be one less thing to track. But we are working to contact all those retirees to give them the heads up. PIA is going to reach out and tell them, but we want to tell them as soon as we can, just because there may be some, a learning curve there of how do you do that with PIA versus the kind of old school style of coming in and just handing us your money. So working on that behind the scenes, and I think that's about it for my report.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. It's budget time. Super fun always to look at the budget. And the budget committee met earlier this week to discuss the proposed budget that Jessica and the team here has prepared. Jessica, do you want to kind of walk us through some highlights?
Absolutely will.
Are there written handouts or?
Yeah, I can get a couple printed for you.
Let's see. Here are a few. There's at least two.
I have a few I can grab if you want all that bought.
Are these? The small ones.
There we go.
I think it's one thing.
Oh, yep, that one. Gotcha. And while Jess is looking for those, I do want to express my thanks for the budget committee for taking the time to sit down and go really in depth. I want to thank Brett and Mike from Big ATU came in also and had some great commentary and questions. This is probably the most important thing we'll do at a board meeting this year. And again, when I reference the importance of that safety levy passing and then say, hey, in 2029, our funding for the safety levy is going to drop dramatically. That's something that impacts us today. That happens in 2029, but you plan ahead when we're looking at a deficit, and that's one of the things we're going to get in depth on today. And when the time comes here, when Jessica comes and shows it, I'll give you guys kind of a forecast of where our funding is going.
Absolutely, if you could pass him one behind you. Okay, so this spreadsheet right here is just a summary of revenues and expenses. I will start with the revenues. So our budget for 2026, we're gonna end up falling short on our operating revenues for 2026. Mainly that's coming from when we talked about it all year, where SOAR changed the rules on what rides that we could do. So we fell short about $750,000 in what we expected for SOAR. The non-transportation revenue, that includes the surcharge that we charge for our gasoline clients. That includes interest and dividends on our savings account and any returns that we have on our investment account. And the shortfall on that one is mostly due to not having our reserve account fall so low up until February when we finally got that grant money. It is now returning more than what we expected, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be short of what we budgeted for. For the proposed budget of 2027, our passenger fares, we're budgeting a little bit more than what we ended up with as an actual for fiscal year 2026. We were able to we changed what we were doing with the SOAR program so we could pick up some more rides, and we're expecting about 80 to 90,000 a month, where we had dropped all the way down to 40,000. So we are jumping back up to a more substantial return on SOAR. That's still half of what it was at its peak, but we will take what we can get. The advertising revenue, we're dropping that lower this year because the contract is on a year-to-year basis, and this year we're expecting a minimum of 30, and we don't expect it to outperform that. If any, it'll be a little bit. Gas revenue, or non-transportation, again, that's interest, dividends, and gas revenue, holding it right about where we had it for this year, 2026. On operating expenses, for the year 2026, we are projected to come under budget by about $300,000, something like that, which really close to what we budgeted, and we will take under budget anytime we can. For the proposed budget of 2027, we are holding basically a flat budget. We were able to save some money, again, where Sean mentioned that we are saving some costs on the admin side with PEIA. Half of that savings, unfortunately, is getting eaten up by a 3% across the board increase on PEIA, which, any increase stinks, but it's a whole lot less than it has been in the past few years. It was 15% the past 2 years, and like 3% this year, which is a welcome little bit of relief. Beyond that, again, operating expenses are expected to hold steady. Travis, if you will scroll down, please. So for 2026, where we fell short on the revenue so badly, we were able to recoup. We had a one-time additional $1.2 million that we were able to allocate on our federal grant for our operating expenses. So that 1.2 really saved our butts this year, but that's not gonna happen again. And we are budgeting for the normal $3.5 million next year. Our levy receipts came right about budget. Unfortunately, the assessment that we received from the county for 2026, we're expecting about $500,000 less than we did this year. So we are gonna end up the year 2026 it's almost a flat budget considering we're expecting to lose $1.1 million. We're gonna lose about $160,000. So that was pretty amazing for '26, but unfortunately for '27, even with not increasing our expenses, we're still expecting to lose $2 million for 2027. We continue to look for any way that we can cut expenses. We do not have any discretionary expenses that I can name right now. We keep looking for ways to save, and we're looking for ways to bring in more revenue, but it's pretty grim at the moment. $2 million a year is not sustainable. Travis, if you will go to the next tab to the right, there we go. So this breaks down our operating expenses out on greater detail. Some of the things that stand out under services, other services, that's going up a little this year. Those are our subscription-based expenses, things like VIA, things like our ERP system for our finances and for our maintenance, et cetera. We're expecting those to go up a little bit. Other expenses at the very bottom, that looks like it's jumping really big. That's kind of a plug number that's not going to affect cash. So what that is our ERP system, when they calculate the cost of the gas when we're billing people, it takes the average of the 2 years, so it's not exact. We're billing people the exact amount, but it kind of just moves to a different account just to make up the difference. Let's see, advertising, that's advertising expense, we're dropping that down, we're not expecting to have to pay much this year. But we're doing our best to find ways to save money. That's our main focus, and we are happy to take any suggestions that anybody has.
Jessica, can you talk a little bit about the other expenses number? I think, Travis, if you can scroll down a little bit. Because there's a big, I think it's down a little bit more.
Yeah, down other expenses to 400. I think that's.
Is that
That
line
was the-
56, reference on the left?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the one I was just talking about, how our system calculates the fuel cost differently. So we do bill them accurately, it's just, it goes to another account, just because of the way that the system calculates it.
Okay.
I'm happy to take any other questions.
Do we have many unfilled budgeted positions right now? Or any at all?
I believe Jacob's short on drivers. He needs to, we don't have anything unfilled on admin. In fact, we didn't even.
We absorbed those positions as far as IT, and Travis absorbed all
Yeah,
those positions.
and the purchasing director, yeah.
Yeah.
On the unfilled drivers, are those positions we need to fill? Or,
Yeah.
We're
so
budgeted.
you're working at it?
We've had several classes, last couple of months, and we bring on 5 or 6 at a time and get 2 at the end of the training.
Yeah.
So we're about 10 short total between fixed route and van.
We do all that training in-house?
Yeah. It's more so on the fixed route side. You see the patricians are training.
Because they can't get a CDL or?
Not necessarily that, it's more the work schedule. We explain to them what the work schedule is in the interview. And then when it comes time to do it, there's some apprehension
Yeah.
or some behavior issues in training. Combination of those two.
Once we train them, are they going elsewhere and picking up jobs, or do you have anything that?
No, they stay here. We haven't
Not
had
everybody.
people leave just to get their CDLs.
You mean just get your CDL here and then go elsewhere?
Right, we haven't experienced that much.
Yeah, that is a real concern. Once we started doing the ELDT, would people use us like a training school, right?
Right. Because they don't have any skin in the game other than right
They
now.
don't, and we haven't experienced anybody that finished that class and got trained that immediately left. I mean, there are people who go through the training and get their CDL and then realize, oh, I'm not comfortable driving a bus. I mean, it's a different type of skill set. And some people, we've had some folks who've gone through that training and then have decided to switch down to the smaller vehicles. I think that's just a comfort level thing there, because it is a different level of skill that it takes to drive the big buses. But it is a concern of ours, because it is costly to go through that program.
And what's the total deployment number right now?
Total deployment, 130, 132.
How are we filling those spots now, those empty spots? How are we covering that?
On the driver's side, overtime with the current drivers.
All over time?
And then some admin employees or supervisors, if there's call-ins overnight and there's not enough operators to do the work, or supervisors are pulling out, driving those runs.
How many supervisors do we have?
10,
How many's on a shift at a time?
so maybe in one day, so we work 12-hour shifts, so we have 4.
If you guys don't have more specific questions for Jessica, I do want to go over, Travis, if you can pull up that forecast document I put on there. This one's not fun to look at, but I think it's the next one there. Yeah, so this is the math that we're talking about. You know, currently, as of today, or 2 days ago, when I asked Jessica what the actual balance of our reserve account was, so that's our short-term and our long-term investment that we have held back. We're currently sitting at $11,300,000. That is the money that we use. A, we invest a portion of that, and then B, that's where we look at for our capital expenses. And we talk about buying buses, and we talk about the new maintenance facility, etc. That comes out of this fund right here. Currently, you know, with this projected budget of about $1.88 million deficit, you start doing the math, which is basically just subtracting. So at the end of fiscal year 27, we're going to have $9.4 million in there. That is without any increases in other expenses. We know everything costs more every year. There's no way in the world this is going to stay flat. But this is a projection on the flats. This is extremely conservative. So then you go into 2028. Now you're down to 7.5 million. You get into 2029, and that's when we start looking at a $2.7 million deficit a year, because our safety levy has started performing, you know, at a lower, diminished rate for us. Now we start dropping even faster. So we drop down to 5.6 million, 2.9, 259,000. I stress to the board, you know, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that KRT is sustainable for years to come. Our current pace right now is that in 2032, or in the middle of 2031, we have $0. And I would argue that that's probably going to happen sooner than that, because everything's going to cost more. So that's something to keep in mind as we go forward with this budget process. It's not an easy thing for me to come up here and present, or for Jessica to present a budget that's flat as far as things like labor, all those things that we 100% want our employees to have a competitive and wage rates, etc. I want everyone here at KRT to have that. That's unanimous. I think everyone across the board understands that. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to provide the service to our passengers. It's why we're all here. And to be able to do that effectively, we're going to have to address these deficits as we move forward. As Jessica said, there's not a whole lot in our budget that we can find to just cut out that will save us the money. We've become creative, and we've embraced technology as far as KRT Plus, and trying to take those routes that were extremely over subsidized and push those over. But there's still work that needs to be done in order for us to be sustainable for years to come. A plan that provides transportation just for the next 5 years is not a plan. And again, even though those changes happen big time come 2029, it's our responsibility to start looking at those now as we make our plans moving forward. So I wanted to pull that up, even though it's very scary, but it's real, and there's not, at this point, anyone coming to save us. I mean, our funding is pretty much set in stone. I don't know, we are open and we're gonna have some stakeholder meetings now that the levy is passed and now that this is more of a reality, to see if there are partnerships or if there's anything on the table that could help us with this deficit, but I don't see it at this point, so I don't wanna pretend that there are all of these opportunities out there. I'm happy to answer any questions about that, but this chart is the reason why you see a flat budget. It's why, which is, again, not our preference, but it's a reality and a responsibility we have.
So where in there is this, like our reserves account for the maintenance of the
Yeah,
infrastructure?
so it's in here. That's the even scarier part. $6 million to build that building. Subtract it from 11.3. Now you've got even less money, right? It doesn't work. Something's going to have to change, even though that this deficit's going to jump up in 2029. Something has to change this year as far as our funding, or as far as our expenses. And we know, because you all sat around this table and we went through it when it wasn't fun to look at potential service changes. More of that's going to happen. There's no other way that I can save money here, other than looking at those service levels. It's just a reality, and we've gone through some scenarios and we're in the early stages of that, but I feel it's going to be imperative that our team tries to come up with as many creative ways to address this, but we have to get ahead of it. That's a good question.
So on the, it seems to me like it's gonna be a combination of some sort of revenue enhancement, probably a fare change, and also cutting some of the expenses.
Yeah.
So, have you all thought 25 cents a ticket, 50 cents a ticket, like what it would take to start moving the needle, or is the ridership such that those just don't even?
The riders, and that's the tough, that was one of the big feedback topics that we got from those public hearings, was some of our ridership said, hey, like, you could increase our prices and if this will help, and it will, don't get me wrong, it would help, that $1.50 going to $1, so every quarter, every dime counts. But right now, we receive a little over $1 million each year in passenger revenue. It takes us, we spent almost $116,000. We just did the math, just processing that money. So really about $840,000 in tickets. You're not going to solve that problem unless you rose ticket prices to, doubled them, etc. We've tried to stay away from doing it on the back of the people who are using our service. But I think it'll be a combination of looking at the service levels and the ticketing prices. I would try to be less extreme on the ticket prices, understanding the environment that individuals who use our service live within.
How much does it cost to process the funds we receive?
It's about $116,000 a year between
Is that like
16% of the money we bring
credit
in.
card?
So what that is the armored car service, the Louis knows the thing that we take to the bank, that's fees from Truist, they charge us for every dollar that they have to process. We have a fare box puller, that's his salary, and then we have to go down and process the cash to prepare it for Louis to pick up, so it's a combination of all of those.
Yeah, 2 individuals from our team go down every morning and empty all the cat boxes, and then we take a giant box of money that we sort out and put in rubber bands. It's cumbersome, and it's
How often is that done?
every day.
Every day.
Yeah, and we send it off. So I mean, and because we looked at that, and that's why I asked Jessica to run the math, because I was like, at what point? Because when the triennial reviewers were here, they said, have you guys ever thought about going fare free? And in a climate where we've got such a deficit, it's not realistic. But in a world where so much of our expenses are tied to handling that money, at what point does it become better off to say, hey, don't worry about the money? But I don't think we're there yet. Still, we recoup 84% of the money. It's not great, but it's better than zero. But it's a
Yeah,
good
when I
question.
first hired in, like the late 90s, diesel was like 55 or 56 cents a gallon. And I was told that didn't fuel the buses. It came in on the fare box, didn't buy the fuel.
Yeah, it's,
That's about right.
So I don't think that you're gonna be able to raise it enough to overcome that.
yeah.
And you have to understand, a lot of these people, the economic circumstances that they're in.
Yeah. and I know that Michael, during budget committee, you talked about some of the nonprofits that you're involved with and kind of what you're seeing. Can you sort of give the board an idea about the cuts that you're seeing at other?
Yeah, so we run a nonprofit, after school service, family support centers. I mean, everything's just being cut federally. Other boards and other stuff like that, we're looking at 25 to 35%. So we're all looking at having to figure out new income, new revenues, new increases. And this is a public service. I remember on here, it's KRT is a public service that provides for those who need, but it's funded by the community as a whole. And when the whole community is hurting all across the board, you know, we're all just looking at taking a hit for a while trying to still provide services. So this is kind of the normative across the board right now. And the goal, and I said this is, the goal is that KRT past 2032 is still functioning.
Yeah.
That's our goal as a board, fiduciarily, making sure community-wise. So these are the thoughts that we have to kind of process through while recognizing everyone across the board is decreasing. I don't know of any nonprofit that's increasing.
And I have a question, and I am a communications person, not a numbers person, but have we considered meeting with other banks to see if they can provide us a more affordable service? I just think of City National Bank because they are very community driven. They are community partners, unlike Truist. Like, have we looked into that? Set a meeting, come to them and say, here's our issue, here's what we're looking at down the road. We need some help. That is.
Yeah, I think we could do that. We could even go through the process of even putting some bids out for that service and let them compete for it.
Are you talking about just for cost of handling the money, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
That's the thing
just for
is,
cash management.
And you can loan up to.
It just makes me think of the people that
So
keep
much
getting
more.
richer and the poor
Right.
keep getting
Yeah.
poorer.
Yeah.
But when I think about City National Bank, I mean, their community service is unmatched in Charleston. I mean, in South Charleston and all that, and they're local.
As an employee of City National Bank, that's nice to hear.
I was just speaking their praises yesterday
Yeah.
because a lawyer in town couldn't get help at a big bank, and she went to City, and they helped her immediately. I think we need to align ourselves and have more mutually beneficial partners, where it's not just take,
Sure.
taking kind of situation.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where anything we can do that we can make it as competitive as possible so we gotta save every dollar we can.
Absolutely, and it doesn't hurt to ask, or at least explore those options.
And I won't be involved in those conversations. I'm conflicted, but just.
To be
yeah.
fair, I didn't realize that.
Nope, you're good.
But to Mr. Farmer's point, our federal funding, our 5307 funding, was normally around $4 million a year. It's dropped about 3.78. I mean, we've seen a $200,000 drop in the last couple of years. So we were able to, because we had went through with different grants and left over some money at 5307 over the years, we were able to inject a $1.2 million kind of windfall for us. That's gone. We've got about $300,000 left in 5307 after we do this grant. So it's going to continue to decrease, as you were saying. Federal funding has been decreasing.
You know, going back to City National real quick, they handle our pension. We was with BB&T before they changed over to Truist, and we switched to City National, and I've been pleased with every pension meeting we had. I think they do an awesome job. So, I mean,
Yeah, BB&T was wearing us out on the pension. They wanted a fee to run the numbers if you were thinking about retiring, and they were charging like $250 to $300, and the city doesn't do that.
And we can go through the process of doing it and making it competitive. And it can't just be, hey, we want to go with these people, but we'll do it in a way to make sure we can maximize our savings.
Does that make it a little unwieldy because they're gonna want to have touch points in multiple parts of our business? So it's kind of like an insurance company. They want your home letters, your life insurance, your car insurance. So they're gonna want to look at everything,
Yeah.
which could be a pretty big task because with the investment group went through all this before. It takes forever to make a decision.
Yep. Yeah, and hopefully this one is a little less where it's services related.
But I think they're gonna look at other parts
Yeah.
of our business opportunities.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We
And when
can-
and we do work with
Reach out
city
to
on
them.
Yeah.
we work with city on
The big challenge for me is if we have our operating funds in a different bank than our reserve and our investment, getting the money from point A to point B is cumbersome. It's something to discuss. It's
Yeah.
definitely something to
Yeah.
discuss.
Everything
We
has
can have
to
an
go
answer
through.
by next meeting, to at least get the ball started on
Yeah,
questions.
I think so. Yeah.
And in the short
Good.
term, can we do anything with this loom is to pick it up 3 times a week? Is there anything we can do to tweak that in the
It's
short
all our
term?
own staff members. I'm just playing.
Believe me, we had talked about that. We
I
were
think
like,
that was there
There
before.
was a point in time somebody did do that.
Right.
You can still carry classes.
Anthony wasn't thrilled about that when we
That's
suggested that he
why.
just drive it down to the bank. Yes.
He's the insurance person, they're like, no.
Yeah.
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 These are all good ideas to explore, but I don't think any of them are gonna result in a $2 million savings.
Right, so
But-
just trying to just piece
Right.
it a
But
little
it's-
bit together.
But,
Right.
but yes,
That's
every
what we're
single
doing.
thing needs to be on the table.
Right.
There's the,
Yeah.
What about service hours? I mean, some of the late night hours and things that, well, we've got people on the road, there's just not a lot of usage.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know at what point you trigger the need to have public hearings because of route changes.
Sure.
But are those some things that we could
Yeah.
potentially do without having to do that?
there are, and if you guys recall too, one of the things that we will be proposing soon is the end, we did a pilot program for those remaining hill routes where if you recall, the first time we did it, we did South Hills and we did Beach Avenue, and we covered it with KRT Plus, and then after about 4 months, we took the fixed route service away, and it sustained itself with KRT Plus. We did a round of public hearings, and the board voted to start that pilot program that would then go away. It's been about 7 months now, 7 months, so we've almost doubled the length of the pilot program. So one of the next operations for us will be looking at those hill routes and changing them exclusively to KRT Plus. There'll be some savings there. To hit this $2.7 million number, though, you're looking at a substantial change, not just the service hours. The issue for us are these outlying routes that are extremely costly because they're so long, and because we've already decreased the frequency, but that saved us a few drivers, which then turns into the labor and the miles for fuel. But to get to that $2.7 million number, it's substantial. I mean, we've run some scenarios, and we're happy to talk about them at a future meeting if you all want us to just show you several different options. I think we can get there, but I'll just say it, the concept that we've been toying around with to complete a $2.7 million in savings, you're looking at KRT operating its main lines exclusively. So that's 4 routes, not 19. Now those 4 routes carry about 80 to 82% of our ridership. So you're still talking about 80% of the folks who ride with KRT having that service. It's not something we would look forward to. It doesn't solve the problem of connecting people to opportunity, which is our mission across the entire county, but it would keep us sustainable. It takes that map of our service and makes it look entirely different. We basically would just run up the river. We'd go up to Quincy Walmart on that side, and we'd follow the river up to Nitro and St. Albans, but you wouldn't go to places like even Southridge, the Clendenins, the Montgomerys, all those outlying areas. It doesn't look the same. So that's the extreme, and we've started doing some math to figure out, can you make those changes, and can you do things like bring back Sunday if you make those changes? That's a big draw for our passengers. There may be some ways we could pull that off. And I know Mr. Tolliver and I spoke earlier this week about the concept with how high gas prices are, that Sundays not having service is such a hit. And so maybe that's only on the main lines, because that's the only lines we would have at that point.
Sean, can I add to that?
Sure, yeah.
It looks like we'll be able to do a small study that looks at funding practices around the country and what's available legally with current legislation through us, no cost to the KRT. Other places, sales taxes,
be greatly appreciated, because, you know, a dedicated funding source from the state legislature would be incredible. Other states have it, and they've had creative ways of coming up with it, but anytime you go to the legislature and you say, hey, I want this kind of funding, they want to know, well, okay, well, how do you pay for it? Because if you start giving public transit $1 million, you've taken $1 million somewhere else. And that's the constant kind of shell game, and I don't envy those legislators. I don't envy the county commissioners who have to make these decisions on how they allocate limited funds, but to come up with creative ways, and especially if you guys can pay for it, it's amazing.
The study itself is pretty low cost. And
Okay.
An example, I ran an analysis for my master's class, a 0.5% sales tax countywide would bring in about $22 million.
I'll take it.
So that's not small dollars.
Sure.
That's looking at. And of course you go quarters, you know, whatever for political and
Yep.
that would require legislative action
Sure.
from the neighborhood, things like that. So.
Again, anything is on the table, and if we can find some creative ways, we, you know, working with the legislature and our delegation, we will press everything we can. Because it's not just KRT experiencing this, you're seeing this at all the public transit agencies across the state. And again, we feel strongly that we have an important role to play in the economy of Kanawha County and West Virginia. And making these tough decisions is part of it.
Could we have another public hearing to see if it's, in advance to start up Sunday again?
I think Mr. Tolliver, when we go through the next phase of what the options are to try to recap some of these funds, I think we'll take that into consideration, and I'll make sure we include Sunday service as part of the options that we lay out for the board, as far as costing it and then getting feedback from the public. I mean, it's definitely important.
If no one has any objections, I know Brett signed up for public comment, and I'm assuming, Brett, that it is budget related.
Right.
So before the board takes any action on the budget, if no one has any objections, I'd like everybody to hear from you.
Yeah, that's fine. You
Hang
know, I
on,
was present.
let's start a clock.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
All right, let me know.
All right, hang on. All right, you're good.
All right. Well, I was present during the board, our budget meeting along with Mike Harms from International, and, you know, looking over what we've got here, you know, I understand the levy we took a hit on starting in '29. This has to pertain to our contract upcoming. You know, like I've told you guys before, Sean gets a raise, Kurt gets a raise, Jacob, Jessica, and all that's fine. We want our share too. I know that you guys have a company to run as well, but like I said, we're not asking for the whole thing. We're just asking for a little bit. A lot of the members have spoken to me, and I would like to present to you guys, the board, a petition that they have signed stating that they demand a fair contract. Like I said, I know that it's rough. Just heard on the radio today, USDA is projecting between now and the end of the year, groceries are going to go up 3.2% by the end of the year. So, you know, everything's going up, and we just need our share right now while we can get it. Like I said, even if we come to a 3-year contract, don't expire to '29, we can cross that bridge when we get there. But for right now, we've got what we got, and we're just asking for our fair share of the money to get so we can survive. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Brett. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you and Mike from coming down from Pittsburgh to sit in on the budget committee meeting. The budget, as it is drafted, like Sean mentioned, is flat for labor, which means it's flat for labor for everyone. So, I mean, there are no raises being budgeted in this draft for admin, for drivers, for our maintenance crew, for anyone. And, you know, as a budget committee, we realize that, you know, that is really difficult to swallow because we are in a time where everything's costing more, and personally, it's really hard. I'll tell you, though, that the budget committee, because of the stuff that we're looking at down the road and this deficit, and this projection, the budget committee recommends that the board adopts the budget as it is drafted, which is flat for labor. So if there's additional discussion on that, happy to open the floor. And Jay and Michael, you all were there, so if you have any comments, please.
My question is this, on labor, under operations, it looks like it goes up, but under general admin, it looks like it goes down.
Yes, we eliminated a position. Somebody moved from an admin and took a lower position, and we did not replace her.
Yeah, so it's,
So we're running even leaner on admin side.
and where do we stand on the money that we committed to paying Wendell for the design? Is that money that's spent? Or
For the 30%?
The 30
It's all gone.
The 30%, so we've committed to go from the 30 to 100%. That funding happens.
4 million or something?
Yeah, that is being invoiced as they do their work, so we haven't spent all of that at this
So
point.
it's showing up on, I don't see the reserves, and I'm sure it's not.
It goes towards, it's on the capital reserve when you talk about the building, down there, the line that shows the 30 million.
Facility upgrade?
Yes, yeah. It's encapsulated, the design
It's
is
in that, okay.
encapsulated in those costs, yes. Yeah.
It's important to note that the projection that Sean just showed you all with the depletion of our reserves, that does not include a dime of capital investment. That just accelerates when we start paying.
Yep.
Jessica,
Yes, sir.
that on, not last board meeting, I think it was board meeting before that, you said that there was gonna be 6.5 million going into a savings account drawing interest. Is that part of the
Yes.
11 million?
Yes, that replaced what we had been using to pay our operating expenses. We had drawn our savings down to less than $2 million when I got that money back. So that was borrowing against what we had in the capital reserve, Brad.
Yeah, 'cause it
That
took-
wasn't an influx, that was back pay to us that we had already budgeted for. That's for our capital investment, that's for buying buses, that's for fixing the building, that's all of that. So this budget does not include any of that. So for us to increase our operating expenses is wildly inappropriate when we're already falling short of what we have committed to the federal government that we told them we were able to afford to spend if they gave us those grants.
Yeah, and I know again, we recognize that it's really a difficult pill to swallow for everyone. To contemplate no increase in the labor budget for next fiscal year. But just looking down the road and trying to provide for KRT's longevity, this 2.7 annual deficit is a really, really scary number. I don't see how we as a board, in my opinion, can justify really budgeting an increase.
I mean, to echo that, fiscally, we need to make sure that we sustain. Can I ask the question, I know you represent the drivers, do they know that we're at this deficit and is it continual at this amount?
They know, they still think that they deserve a fair contract. I mean, last contract we negotiated, we had more drivers than what we do now, more employees.
Yeah.
I think we had like 70-some drivers last contract, we're down to 59, 58 right now. CAT, we had like 20, I think, and we completed down, I think we're down to 12 now maybe. So we had more employees last contract than we do this contract.
Right.
And so-
I know the biggest thing is unfortunately the expense side continues to go up, PIA, retirement, everything else. That's the balancing act that we want to honor across the board with it. And I think it's the thought, you made mention of saying we want to get it while we have it now. And that's the hard part is if they're not past 2032, then no one has a job. That's just we have a real conversation, and our goal is as a board to be able to say if we can at least this year pass the flat us work and continue to work together. I know we've talked about the insurance side, talking those conversations, there's a potential of 400,000 that can be saved. You know, these are the bigger conversations we want to continue to have and honor. Because that's the one thing I want to reiterate is we want to honor that we know that we have to have drivers and people to help all of our community. And to your point, you know, everybody's hurting and suffering. We don't want to have to increase fare and things like that so we can provide this service. But I think right now the responsibility is to be able to say a flat is good right across the board as we continue to decrease admin and everyone else, but continue to have these good conversations as the negotiations come about.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, the past 4 years when we've given this budget presentation, I've put an asterisk beside when we talk about SOAR and funding, and I've said, we're budgeting for this, but at any point this could change or go away. And, you know, it hasn't gone away, but some of the rules and some of the adjustments that we have made to try to make up for that. That's where, when we did have 20 on-demand drivers and you saw SOAR revenues were $120,000 to $140,000 a month, that did justify those folks. When the SOARs dropped down to 40, and thankfully we've worked out and done some hard math to get that number up, but it's not what it was. That's tough for us.
Yeah, in several of those years too, we saw double-digit increases in DI premiums. And then we only saw 3% this year, which is good. But can we project what they're going to do next year? They can start adding the spousal surcharge to each non-state agency too, which is $250 a month. So expenses have gone up while revenue has gone down.
And fringe is a benefit. That's the other
Yes.
aspect is, God forbid we don't have insurance, adequate insurance,
Correct.
and something does happen and you're out of pocket for not having insurance for a bill. So, yeah.
And I think it's important too, as Valerie stated, although a flat budget is presented, it has to be always in the board's mind. Again, how do you keep a competitive wage rates to keep our drivers, to keep our admin staff, to keep the great people we have? I mean, that's when these deficits are addressed. You know, I hope that the next thing that is addressed is making those wages as competitive as possible. I think we have a responsibility to first address that deficit and then talk about how we get to the point that everybody is, you know, competitively compensated.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this is an emergency situation, right? I mean, we're looking at potentially the death of KRT in 5 to 6 years. And so that's the situation we find ourselves in. And that's why the Budget Committee has made the recommendation that they have.
I'll say from an employer perspective who has staff members that depend on them to get to after-school sites, I mean, this is a big issue.
Yeah.
Knowing in a couple years that we can't get them to, and it affects everything, medical workers, everything else across the board, if we know that we don't have transportation to get to and from those locations. So, trying to sustain.
I mean, this is a pretty tough vote because we
Yeah.
know that we've set a path forward. If we adopt this budget, does the staff already have, you know, in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, this is the corrective measures that we think we can implement, and start presenting that so that we can get that in motion immediately?
Yes.
Because I will feel better knowing that we're attempting to do something, even if it's gonna be things that people don't care for.
Yeah, we have scenarios that we started running once the levy numbers became real. Once the levy passed, we didn't want to hypothetically go through a scenario where we spent time and money trying to figure out what ifs. Once that became real, we started with some scenarios.
So will that be presented at the next board meeting?
Yes, I didn't want to include them in the budget hearing because I didn't want the board to budget for a cut without going through the process of having like the public hearings, et cetera. I think that would be, you know, not the right way to do it. But yes, at the next board meeting, we can present different scenarios for the board to take into account, and then you guys can task us with going out to public hearings to immediately start making these changes. We have those in mind. I mean, we have ideas that save us up to, I think, it was the 2.6.
It starts at 2.6.
Yeah.
2.6 per year, but again, that was the main routes only. That was cutting us from 19 down to 4. It was cutting our frequency to every hour, Jacob, and then half hour on peak.
Does that still include the option for like the KRT Plus type service to maybe
Yes.
keep people to South Route?
It still
Is that-
kept,
Okay.
well, it didn't keep,
Or
it,
service areas that may be outliers.
what did it do for well, KRT Plus would, our paratransit service is based off of a 3/4 mile distance from our fixed route service. So unless we could grandfather those folks in who are currently in the system because we don't want to lose them, but technically it would be based off those 4 routes. The KRT Plus service itself with the different zones, it anticipated keeping those zones, didn't it, Jake? Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're kind of early on it because I didn't want to spend too much of our resources before we were certain that it was going to go that way. But we can definitely show you several different scenarios and cost them out to the best of our ability. But again, we'll have to go through that process of public hearings and getting feedback.
And there's probably some elements that don't require public hearings that we'd like to also hear about. Because it's gonna be line by line, you know, the 10,000 here, 50,000 there is gonna be meaningful.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, we can present every option on the table.
As long as there's a commitment to do that, I think the budget, it is what it is at this point, and we need to move forward, but we've gotta figure this out.
Yep. Yeah, and as soon as we can get those scenarios polished in a way that we can stand behind the math, I can share those with the board, even preemptively before the next meeting, and then when we sit down, we can all have that already in our heads to move forward.
When is contracts finalized?
Or we haven't even, we go back to the table June 23rd, our ends June 30th.
Yeah, June 30th it ends.
June 23rd is, but you've already had
We've
sessions
had a
leading up
couple
to
ones,
this.
nothing economical has been agreed upon.
Yeah, because we understood that until the levy situation happened or until this budget hearing happened, it was kind of presumptuous for us to talk about what we'd have. Yeah.
Word of advice is, if you're interested in raises, HSA needs to be an education point for your members.
And I know we talked about that in the budget committee meeting, and Brett had expressed, you know, the members really are comfortable where they're at, but I'd encourage Brett to get with Sean and see if you can set up an informational for your members about the HSA and about Plan C, because I do think the projected savings of that would be, yeah, it would be significant. So
The
just,
admin saved us 70
yeah.
per year.
And if they wanted to keep the better plan they're on, maybe there could be an offset in fee or something. Something's got to be done between those two entities, the raise and the HSA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're committed, and we'll work with
I
ATU.
want them to have the best.
I want all of us to have the best, I mean, same goes for admin as well.
Well, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just gotta, you know, like I said, we go back to the table June 23rd, I think we got 3 days scheduled of negotiations, right, Sean?
Yes, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, because, and again, to reiterate, you know, this flat budget, it's flat for admin. Admin has switched over to the gold high deductible. We understand. I'm sure everyone in admin wants more money. I'm sure everyone in admin wants cheaper insurance. We understand the situation we're in and believe that, you know, when we talk about different pieces of the pie doesn't exist without passengers. That's our mission here, is to provide service to the public.
Does any passenger fare increase require a public hearing?
Yes, yes it does.
I think we need to look at that too, even though it's small beans.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, we can
Send
cost
a
out.
message.
Well, we
Still
will, as part of our scenario too, we will cost out what every additional, whether it's dime or 25 cents or dollar, we'll show it all. What could it mean for us? Again, just with the caveat of the last thing we want to do is make it harder on the individuals who are already stressed. But if raising ticketing prices for everyone can help maintain some of those outlying areas that would otherwise be eliminated totally, that's something we have to balance also. But yes, we are committed to getting all the information in front of you. Something has to give.
And we do have commitment that by next month we'll have something for City National on the money handling.
We will have we can pull together the information of like what it costs us, and we can, I don't know if by next month, I mean, we can't just directly just switch to
No,
city
I say
because we
switch,
like.
at least have information. And
Yes.
maybe if Loomis could even, if there's another plan that you guys would be comfortable with.
Mhm. Yeah, we can,
Some
we
kind
can
of
tell you,
adjustment.
we can show you what it, cost out what it is now, and then we can start the Q and A with all those individuals and let you know what we found out. Hey, is there, can you decrease frequency? Can you decrease the level of the service? Can we do the money room 1 or 2 days a week versus 5? Can you, yes, we will, we can give you an answer. to
About
those.
daily, how much is transferred in cash?
2 to 3, depending on the day.
$1,000?
Yeah.
That's not much. Could our supervisors, 2 together, if we got one, could they not do ride 2 together, you know, the lockbox?
Could, it would require it to be counted here, and the deposit prepared here. So the cost of Truist is once Loomis takes it to them, they pull it out of the bags. We stack the money in and rubber band it and put the coins in the bag. We don't actually count it here. So the big cost of Truist is they count it for us and charge us for that.
Yeah, so it's not the, Loomis is a portion of it, the actual transport, but it's the time associated with the counting of it that's the biggest hurdle.
I mean, I've seen where it works just like Loomis, you have the box, and it's tagged here, and
Yeah.
then it's transported to people, if you will, and then you pull into a garage, into the facility, they close the door, you hand the box over, just like voting machine.
Sure.
And then they,
Yeah.
I
They
was
clip it.
trying to think outside the
Sure.
box. I mean-
Yeah, and we're happy to ask Truist if they will accept alternative means of delivery that would satisfy their control procedures, because that's what they, if we bring it to them and if it's not Loomis, then they, that's not part of their protocol of how they ensure that it's safe and right to protect themselves too.
Right.
So, but yes, we will ask them if there are alternative means that we haven't explored.
That just,
Yeah,
it
everything-
seems way outrageous for.
Oh, it is. It's
It
tough.
is.
And historically, I mean, I think Dave will remember this. There used to be, what, 4 people, 4 like retirees came in and were paid to count the money every single day. They literally, they counted the actual money every day. Now, our process got tougher because about the time Jessica came on, Loomis told us, or Truist told us that we historically took that big giant box of money and we dumped it into bank bags and sent it off, and it took about 10 minutes to do it. Then they said, you can't just give us this giant blob of money, you have to make sure they're all straight and rubber banded. So we spend a half hour or 45 minutes a day.
Bye, Truist.
It's terrible, but it's
Thanks for being helpful.
yeah.
Does our machines, do they track that too? I mean, do we from when it's deposited on the bus?
Yeah.
I mean, do those numbers
Yes,
match
yeah,
up?
yeah,
Genfair,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. Our Genfair system keeps track of the money, and then what we do is we reconcile the Genfair, what's supposed to be collected for that day versus what Truist tells us they count. Yes,
So we
yes.
sort of do have an
Yeah.
assessment on what we're getting every day.
Yes, yes, we do. Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we know the money that's, yes. It's a good question.
Not that I want to recommend spending money to do this, but is this, I mean, are these evaluations something that you think can be done in-house, or do we need somebody who has some sort of forensic accounting background, or some sort of intensive,
You
to
mean
find
of
cost
exploring all the
savings?
different-
Yeah, exploring. Or do you think, I mean, Jessica, do you feel comfortable like that? And I know not all of it is you,
Oh, I'm comfortable with
but,
it.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we
It's
can.
not perfect. We do, yeah, we
Yeah.
work.
Then we always have good accounting numbers,
Yeah,
the
we can,
audits.
yeah, we can
Right.
propose to you all just any of the services that we currently do and brainstorm are there better ways or cheaper ways that still accomplish the mission while saving us some money, sure. Again, every stone needs to be turned over because this is that serious. Yeah, we can do that. And again, we have those scenarios for the routes mostly completed. I didn't want to propose them during the budget hearing when.
Yeah, we can't necessarily, I mean, again, things would have to go to public hearing for route changes or fare changes, so.
We're looking months down the road, even if it was just like we're talking about today.
Yeah, if we put out for a public hearing, because what's the notice on that, 30 days?
30-day
Yeah.
notice, and then it's having the public hearings, and then Jacob, when's the next write-up or markup?
We just finished one for June, the next one will be in October.
So you could aim to try to, again, that's an expedited schedule, but, and accomplish that.
We need, if there were a reduction, we still need the same amount of drivers.
No, I mean, to be honest, when you start doing the math, when you say changing service levels, that's where you save money. It's labor, it's the benefits, et
The
cetera.
10 positions that we have, not to get rid of.
Correct, yeah.
Any current
Yeah, even though, well, no, you're talking about changes as far as maintenance employees, you're talking about changes as far as operators. If you go from 19 routes to 4, that's the only way we save money. Yeah, the savings, it isn't gonna come from all those fixed costs, which are the vehicles, and you're gonna save some on fuel, you're gonna save some on, it's fuel and labor and fringes. So yes, it's people. You guys are talking about those service changes. What saves you money is you have less employees at KRT, substantially less.
We'll look at that one.
Yeah, so that's, again, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, none of this is a fun discussion, and it's really difficult discussion. But we do have a draft budget in front of us. We've talked about it a good deal. Are there any motions related to the budget?
To the operating budget, yeah.
To the operating budget.
We'll go to the capital reserve next.
I'll make a motion to accept this budget as recommended by the committee. Budget committee.
I'll look in a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the operating budget as presented. I'll call a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. And I think we have capital
Yes,
that we
we
want
can
to
talk
talk
about
about.
capital reserve, that's the CRA. Basically, what I put in here is stuff that we actually have grant money allocated to now. I mean, you saw that our operating budget, we're going to be having to dip into this to be able to pay our operating expenses, but for the sake of having proof that we are trying to have this money available, it is a support vehicle, it is a couple of buses, and then it's the $6 million to match to get to the 30 million that we have already been committed to for the maintenance facility. It's bare bones. And again, we will have to pull into it to cover operating expenses, but the hope is we stop the bleeding and we can replenish it eventually.
Awful wall question.
Yes, sir.
Can we get by with 2 buses instead of 3?
Probably, and those are 2 years out, we have not ordered them yet, so they're at minimum 18 months out, so we don't have to come up with that cash.
Yeah, so part of the items to take into consideration also is with those different scenarios we present, you also look at different peak rates as far as how many buses you need, which currently we're sitting at what, 24 buses. Some of the scenarios we've costed out are 12 to 14 buses. So your fleet of 49-ish buses potentially can last you much longer. The fear there is, last time we ordered buses, we did order a huge order of them. That was back in 2023 with those COVID funds. So you're already talking about your newest bus is 3 years old, and you're going to wait 18 months to get another bus. That's where the concern comes up of, hey, your oldest bus we're running is what for us? 2014s. They're still out there, 12-year-old buses.
We have one 2015 that's approaching 800,000 miles, so it's already at 800,000.
Yeah, so even now, yes, if the service changes happen, you then potentially could almost have a couple different fleets where you have buses that go out one day and then you have buses that stay back here and get maintenance, get cleaned. That's great, I guess, but you're still going to come to a point in time where you're going to have to buy new buses, and all of our vehicle purchases come out of these capital reserve funds, and again, we're talking about capital reserve funds that are not being added to, they're just being subtracted from every year when we have this deficit. So you fix the deficit, and all of a sudden in the future when you need those buses, you're going to have at least something to put towards it. And they are 80-20 matched by the FTA, so that's great. But it's much lighter than it's been, other than that, you know, the capital funding there for the facility. And just to reiterate that, you know, the cost to keep putting Band-Aids on this facility far outpaces the $6 million contribution to receive almost $24 million from the state and from the FTA.
Sean, on the cost of buses, make sure I'm understanding it. We talked the other day, there were 500,000. Is that the actual cost of the bus? We're only paying 20% of that?
We
Or
pay-
is 20%, 500,000?
No, we pay 20% of the 500.
Okay.
It will change. It keeps changing. 580. Yeah. We
Okay.
pay 20% of
Okay.
that. So that's great. That part's is extremely thankful for that. But that comes out of that allocation from the feds of each year of how much money they have to put towards us. So. Yeah. That's a good question, though.
So do we need a motion to adopt the capital reserve budget? Okay. So, capital reserve budget is in front of the board, and management's asking for a vote on whether to adopt this. Any additional comments, motions?
And if we go through those scenarios and make those changes, this would not preclude us from lowering those 3 buses down to 2 or 1. We could definitely do that. We just can't spend more than what you all allocate today. That's.
Motion to receive it if it needs to motion to receive, right?
Well, to recommend adoption of the budget.
How much to recommend for adoption?
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to recommend adoption of the capital reserve budget as presented. I'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you all. And I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. Not a fun meeting today, I know, but we've got a plan to keep looking at ways to save, ways to increase revenue, different cost-saving measures, and hopefully plan is to have a lot of those presented to us next month, at next month's board meeting. So, any comments online, Travis?
No.
All right,
Thank you all so much.
thank you.
Thanks.